AC 24/7, more trouble in the air and the sky, following a second train derailment and another emergency landing. What we're learning about what happened in each case. Plus, a GOP leader is drawing more than attention. The message from vandals to a potential 2024 presidential candidate. And coming out swinging, Creed 3 surpasses expectations at the box office. We'll tell you how it measured up against the competition. Hey there, welcome to AC 24/7. I'm your host, Lamar Baldwin. Trouble on the tracks and in the sky as a second Norfolk Southern train derails in Ohio. And a bird strike causes smoke to fill the cabin of a Southwest flight. The Advocate Channel's Chris Nugent reports.
In West Central Ohio, anxious moments at this crossing as another Norfolk Southern freight train derails over the weekend. There were over 200 cars in the train. Norfolk Southern says 28 left the tracks near Springfield, more than 200 miles away from last month's derailment site in East Palestine.
Nothing had spilled onto the ground and very minimal material on the actual cars themselves that actually dried very quickly.
Local officials say this wreck doesn't pose an environmental hazard, and an NTSB team arrives Monday to investigate the derailment.
I think we need to sit down at the table, both the union and the carriers, and try to get some legislation passed in order to make the railroads a safer place.
At the toxic East Palestine site, removal of contaminated soil is underway.
We're going back and looking at everything from management systems, policies, practices, decision-making that set the conditions that allowed that derailment to occur in the first place.
Monday air travel hit a snag for some as two planes came in contact at Boston Logan Airport. The FAA says it's investigating after a United flight leaving for Newark hit another United jet as it was leaving the gate. No one was hurt. This after a Southwest flight bound for Fort Lauderdale Sunday filled with smoke following reported bird strikes.
People were screaming, not knowing what to do.
The carrier says it returned safely to Havana, Cuba without injuries. I'm Chris Wynn reporting.
Simi Valley police are looking for the persons who vandalized a sign at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library. Someone spray painted the words "Ron DeFascis" on sign hours before Florida Governor Ron DeSantis was set to speak. No other damage was found. The Republican governor is bringing his message across the country as he lays the groundwork for an expected White House bid. At the event, DeSantis continues to criticize woke ideology while celebrating his own achievements.
The state of Florida, we're proud to stand for education, not indoctrination in our schools. What is the purpose of having a school system? You know, the left thinks the purpose is to use your tax dollars and use public institutions to impose an ideological agenda, to foment political activism and advance quote-unquote social justice.
It's widely speculated that DeSantis will run for president and compete against former President Donald Trump for the Republican nomination. It was a violent start to what organizers are calling a week-long mass mobilization in Atlanta against Atlanta's so-called Cop City. At least 35 people were detained after fires were set at the $90 million, 85-acre law enforcement training facility. The Advocate Channel's Ivan Rodriguez tells us why this land is the center of this conflict.
Take a look. Police are calling these people agitators, using a peaceful protest as cover and storming the construction site of a planned police training facility in Atlanta Sunday evening.
This wasn't about a public safety training center. This was about anarchy, and this was about the attempt to destabilize.
In the surveillance video, you can see many of the protesters appear dressed in camo and masks, some even carrying shields. The video shows fireworks, rocks, and even Molotov cocktails thrown at law enforcement. No officers were hurt.
Actions such as this will not be tolerated. When you attack law enforcement officers, when you damage equipment, you are breaking the law. And this was a very violent attack that occurred this evening. Very violent attack.
APD says construction vehicles were torched at the location that opponents call Cop City. Environmental advocates are fighting to preserve the forest, and others say the facility could increase the militarization of police. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp tweeting this statement, saying in part, Domestic terrorism will not be tolerated in this state. As we continue to respect peaceful protest, we will also continue to ensure safety in our communities. Atlanta police say at least 35 people were detained. Some were from outside Atlanta. I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
Bruce Willis' wife is asking the paparazzi to keep their distance and to stop yelling at the actor. Willis was recently diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia. Emma Hemming Willis also asked for advice from other caregivers and specialists in a caption on Instagram about how to safely get loved ones out in public safety. Frontotemporal dementia is caused by progressive nerve cell loss at the areas of the brain associated with behavior, personality, and language. Memphis Grizzlies star Ja Morant is suspended for at least 2 games after video appeared to show him brandishing a gun inside of a club on Instagram Live. Morant released a statement through his agent saying he takes full responsibility. The NBA is conducting an investigation. The Grizzlies coach said there's no timetable for his return, adding that Morant has made poor choices that he'll have to be held accountable for. The NBA investigated Morant back in January for an incident at a game. The NBA says that investigation found no evidence that anyone was threatened with a weapon. Boxing trilogy Creed topped the box office in its opening weekend, making sports film history, grossing over $58 million. The directorial debut from star Michael B. Jordan surpassed both its predecessors, ranking as the series' best debut. Internationally, the film pulled in $41.8 million for a global total of $100.4 million. The film now has the biggest sports film opening in history. Netflix's hit series Sex Life is back for a second season. Sex Life is the story of a love triangle between a woman and her husband in the past that takes a new look at female identity and desire. The Advocate Channel's Rachel Smith got to talk with the stars about their insane fan base and so much more.
Congratulations. I mean, this is so much more than a show. You all truly created kind of a movement where kind of gave people permission to really discuss their own personal desires in a very, I think, very cool and empowered way. And Sarah, let me start with you. Let me ask you, in what ways do you feel more empowered in your daily life since becoming Billy?
She proved to be a character for me that was so courageous, that I really liked the balls that she had to really sort of question things that she was told to just kind of accept because it's good enough, you know. And I myself was in a place where I was really sort of questioning things and thinking outside of what my life was presenting me. And I also wanted more, you know, so there was no surprise in an esoteric way that I ended up becoming Billy. But I also still find myself in that place of like, you know, I find Billy to be somebody who, again, she's not afraid to be a mess.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that too, because I'm not somebody who has it together at all. I am a constant mess. Who
isn't, right? The fan experience has been so insane. How would you best prepare your fan base for this new season? Because, you know, there are so many opinions, and what would you best tell them to get ready for season 2?
Ooh, sit down.
Sit down, strap in.
Sit down, yeah, close the blinds. Pour yourself a nice glass of something, and whatever they loved about season 1, I think, we've just turned up the dial and it's gone in all different directions now and new characters and everything. We had people divided before. I think it's going to be even more so in a great way this time. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Sasha Snow, too. I love your storyline this year, too,
Thank
Margaret.
you. Yeah, it's such a pleasure getting to navigate it. And I agree. It's just like season 2, we amplified and deepened a lot of things. And that was just a fun challenge to embrace. And I hope that the audiences embrace it, too. And I hope we have some surprises for them, you know.
You will.
I don't think it's going to turn out the way everyone thinks.
Yeah.
No, lots of surprises. I love it.
Thank you for joining us for AC 24/7. For more content that advocates to you, go to advocatechannel.com and make sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For the Advocate Channel, I'm Lamont Baldwin.